Hi everybody, how are you guys doing? Good afternoon, good afternoon. We'll be starting in 4 minutes. Hoping that you guys are good and well. I want to say hi to Nisa, Aina, Amanda, Amisha, Amira, Anani, Andrea, Brenda, Calista, Celine. Hi to Yi Xiong. We have Cindy, David, Jordan, Zining, Ming, Misaki, Misha, Pat, Ryan, Sabrina Chavella, Sabrina Fong, Sarah, Stevani, Zuje, Ting Ting, Vanessa. Hi to Vania, Wei Kang, Jingwen, Yo Ching, Yiwen, Zhang Chiyu, Zian, Zihang, Ziyu, Chen Yi, and Xiang. Hi, and Batu. Hello, hello, everybody. We will be starting in 3 minutes. Hi, Yanfen. Hi, everybody. Hi, Celine. Hi. Hi, Christy. 49. Hi, Ting Ting. Hi, everybody. We'll be starting in 2 minutes. Hi, everybody. Hi, Amira. We'll be starting in 1 minute. And hi, Syed. Welcome. All right. Hi, Abigail. Hi, Yiming. Hi. So how many of us we have right now? We have 69, which is good. Okay, so welcome to week 4 of intercultural communication. I hope that in the midst of week 3, you have started to prepare your self-culture report. It is and the video log as well. So it is due next week on 22nd September at 4:30 p.m. Okay, so self-cultural report together with the video log, submission is the same day on 22nd September on times at 4:30 p.m. Okay, so I'm gonna share with you my screen before we get into a little bit things on classes and things like that. Let me get it straight with you on the cultural report submission. So I'm gonna share my screen with you. Can you guys see my screen right now? Yes. Can you guys see my screen? So I am at my browser right here. Okay, so I'm on my browser. So I'm on time. So if you scroll down and log into Times, you could and choose the tab of intercultural communication. So scroll down. Okay, everything have slides right here, so no problem. So week 4 is culture communication, 2 slides is there. So to submit your self-culture report, you can submit it starting from this week. If you have finished already, you can just submit it. Okay, so what you do right here is to submit the report, go on the first tab. Yeah, so what you do is click on the tab, okay, and then I'll show you how does it look like. Okay, so make sure when you submit your self-culture report, try to do just upload the file upload the file and you can submit it on time. So it's either for this particular submission self-culture report, you don't need to turn it in, but in case you have citations that you took from the internet, you have to cite it. Okay? Any questions so far? So just submit it, simple as that, and just submit. Try to submit it through PDF. If it's a hassle, then Word is fine. So it doesn't matter. Okay, any questions for now? Any questions? Okay, so I'm coming to that. Where do you upload the video? So submission of video log for self-culture report. Okay, so it's here. So you submit on times as well. So preferably it will be easier for me that when you do the vlog, okay, when you do the video log, what you do is you upload into your computer and try to upload it to YouTube and share it as a link to me. The submission should be, okay, the submission should be through a link. Okay, so it will be easy for me to watch at any time and to grade it and pass back the grade to you. So submission for video log. So what you do is the video log is due on 22nd of September, next Tuesday by 4:30 p.m. Gabriel. Okay, so submission of video log, what you do is, okay, so so in submitting the particular file online, in submitting the link, what you do is just type the link right here, and definitely it can direct me to your video. So preferably when you do your video log, you have finished and you talk about yourself and the summary of your report, and what you do is you upload to YouTube, then give me the link and post it on Times. Post it on Times and WhatsApp group as well, to your respective WhatsApp tutorial group that I've created for you. So again, I would like to repeat, the self-cultural report submission is due on 22nd of September, 4:30 p.m. next Tuesday, and the video log is due on the same day as well. So video log, extra work is to submit it on times and to your tutorial WhatsApp group, respective tutorial WhatsApp group. Okay, clear? Any questions? Any questions? Any questions, people? Are we good? Yes, video, log, and report due on 22nd. Okay, any questions before we move on, particularly on the self-culture report? Yup, submit it on times. Okay, any other questions? Any other questions that I should know of that you guys are unclear? You let me know. Okay, as of now, no questions. Okay, in case you have questions, please feel free to contact me at the end of the class, or and make sure that I reply to you. Okay, so that would be for the self-cultural report submission. So moving on. Okay, moving on. Next week. Okay, next week, which is on the 23rd. On the 23rd of September, okay, on the 23rd of September for tutorial sessions, okay, tutorial group 1, which is I have classes with you from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Okay, so for those who opt for face-to-face classes, we will be back on campus next week on 23rd of September. Okay, for tutorial group 1. For tutorial group 2, for those who opt for face-to-face classes, we will be back on campus on 24th. Okay, 24th of September from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Okay, for those who opt for online sessions, okay, for online sessions, don't worry. The Zoom meeting link will be given, I will give out the links to you, so no problem about that. As I mentioned before, the difference is for those who opt for online is that you will be seeing me at home or at campus. Okay, so for next week, we will be on campus. So for those who opt for face-to-face classes, please be there. Okay, any questions before moving on? Questions before we move on? All clear? Okay. Moving on to the next one, tomorrow would be a public holiday, a Malaysian public holiday, which is a Malaysian Day on 16th of September. So for tutorial group 1, I will post your tutorial in-class assignment tomorrow on times, and I will update you on when is it up, and you can do it accordingly. Okay, for tutorial group 2, we are still on track to, it will be online as well. So for tutorial group 2, it will be Thursday, no holiday for you. Okay, so you have to come for the tutorial sessions online from 10 to 12 p.m. Okay, any other questions before we move on? All good? Okay, so hoping that you guys are good in the midst of doing your self-cultural report, and can I get a little bit feedback on your final piece pairing, right? Some people, when we talk, when I provide a Google sheet, some people did not cross out their names. Some people have groups already, but never, wrote in the Google sheet. So I am pairing with the redundant names. So may I ask, for those who don't have teammates, how many in the class do not have teammates yet from tutorial group 1 and tutorial group 2? How many of you don't have teammates yet for final piece? Gabriel, Suba, Samo, can you? Kyrie, okay. Samo, Amisha, okay. Mercy, Kyra, okay. Samo, other people have teammates already? Chingy, quickly, please type in the chat box. So I would like to emphasize this, please, people, for those who have teammates already, please type your name in the Google Sheet. I will send that back at the end of the class. And for those who don't have teammates, I will pair with you and give me time up till tomorrow, and I'll settle that issue for you. Okay, so for those who have teammates, it's important that you write your names down in the Google Sheet and cross it out. Okay, so you have to write it down. I could not write it for you because sometimes the list of names is such a mess. So you have to write it down, and if you have teammates, cross your names out. So for those who don't have teammates, I will, you know, pair them up with those names that are not being crossed. Okay. Okay, noted. So I will settle this teammate issues for final piece at tomorrow. Okay, so God willing, tomorrow all will be settled. Okay, with that, any questions for lecture week 3 on culture, on the basic concepts of culture? Any questions? Any questions? Okay, Chufan, okay. No questions? Okay, it's pretty clear. All right. If no questions, let's head on to our lecture week 4 for today. Okay. Okay, so in case you have any questions at any point of time, please unmute your mic and ask me questions. If I'm too fast, you stop me at any time as well. Okay, so let's head on to week 4 lecture of intercultural communication, and we are covering the topic of culture and communication, episode 2. Okay, with that, let's move on. Okay, so what is communication? When we talk about communication itself, in the terms of intercultural communication, it can be understood as a symbolic process whereby reality is produced, maintained, repaired, and transformed. As I mentioned to you before, when we talk about communication, it's a sender, right? How do you define it? Is a sender sending a message to a receiver, yeah, so through a channel. Okay, so might it be face-to-face communication through WhatsApp, through TikTok, through movies, or through anything, yeah. So with that, a communication process will occur. So how would you, okay, so how would you, for example, from person A, which is a sender, and the receiver is person B, how would the sender actually, you know, gets the message that the receiver understand the particular message that he or she sends? So the receiver, in order to understand the message, he or she will give out, you know, feedback to the sender, whether he or she understands the message or not. So that is what communication is about. It's sending a message through what kind of platforms, in hopes that the person understand your message according to you know, the interpretation or not. So sometimes I will give you an example. So let's say I say to you, to all 105 students of mine in intercultural communication class, that I am the best intercultural communication lecturer that you will ever find in the world. So I would say that will be my message to you. So 105 people would have 105 different interpretations. So some would say you're too cocky. Some would say, oh yeah, maybe. Some would say, are you sure you're being too confident? So different people have different interpretation, and how would, you know, and how would I received this feedback is at the end of the semester, you will definitely rate my teaching and so forth. So, you know, it's a communication process. It's so ongoing when, you know, it's as basic as you talking to your mom, you know, you sharing your you know, feelings with your mom about your boyfriend or your friends and things like that. So when you share to your mom, you hope that your mom will react. So that would be if your mom reacts accordingly or not accordingly, or she doesn't listen to you. That's a communication process. Might it be positive or negative? Okay, are we clear on that, on what is communication? Yup. Okay. All right, so with that, as I mentioned before, we covered in chapter two that there are three perspectives that we will discuss in every topic. Remember, we have social science perspective, we have interpretive perspective, and the third one would be the critical perspective. So let's refresh our mind by looking at the next slide. Okay, so for the first one will be social science perspective. Okay, social science perspective in terms of culture and communication, it emphasizes the various components of communication. Okay, so when we talk about in terms of social science perspective, how culture and communication is interrelated is how you send the message, in what kind of method that you use in sending the message to another person, yeah, plays an influence on the culture and communication process as well. So this tradition also focuses on the variables or influences on the communication, like gender or the nature of relationship. Okay, so I would like to give you an example, culture and communication, right? So let's talk about the culture of relationship. Okay, different relationships have different kind of culture. You know, maybe you have partners, everybody in the class who have partners, the way you communicate, you know, with your partner is different. So for example, people in long-term relationships will communicate in a different way from individuals who have recently met. So for example, if you go on a date, I still remember, you know, my first date with my husband. So I've been married to my husband for quite some time. He is 7 years older than I am. And I want to share with you. So for the first date, we went to IKEA in Damansara in Malaysia. So I met him through Facebook. So we met. The first date was in IKEA, and he's such a big person. And I have this perception, right? When I want a guy or I date a guy, it must have a specific kind of image, you know, and woman being woman back then when I was so young, you know, I want a guy who is, you know, who has veins coming out through his hands because he's sexy, or you know, he has a great smile, he can speak English very well. So yeah, it's time for no, not a sweet romantic story. So what happened is that when I met my husband, I know he's such a big size. I looked through his photos, but I never met him personally. So upon going on to the first date, my mom sent me to the first date because I don't like going out. So I will only go out by myself if I'm single, you know. So upon going to the first date, my mom sent me, and I waited, you know, I waited at the top floor of IKEA. Then he called me. So he called me, where are you? So I said, I'm upstairs. So, oh, I'm down. Can you look? Can you find me? So when I looked down, I was like, oh no, he's big. You know, he's big. You know, so those image, you know, that I had about a guy that I should date. Oh, I'll have a very sexy boyfriend. Blah 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 blah. started to crumble down when I see my husband, So then I was like, should I run away? Shouldn't I? Should I run away or should I stay? Should I run away or should I stay? And then I remembered what my brother told me is that you don't do that. You don't run away because then karma will hit you. So what what happened is that I stayed throughout the day, and thank God, 7 years later I married the guy. So yeah, so throughout time we got to know each other. It was such a very awkward first date whereby he tell like awfully like dad jokes, and I was like, oh my god, he's so confident, so cocky, it's so boring, and that was the first time me dating, a guy who is much more older, 7 years older than me. Then so the relationship, when you have steady relationships over time, the way you communicate, when you know that person for such a long time, would be a different situation than the first time you met him, so I would like to give you an example as well. So with my brothers, yeah. So my brother has a long-term relationship with his wife as well. Unfortunately, because of the long distance relationship, because he works in a film production and his wife is a flight attendant in Oman, they are facing divorce cases as of today, as of we speak right now. So long-term relationships, the culture is different. You have to Skype, to make sure that the relationship is ongoing. You have to text. You have to do the work to make the relationship happen. Compared to a person who have relationship and they live together, the culture is different because you can share on a day-to-day basis and you live with each other and so forth. Yeah. So that's how it works, yeah, people. So the function of how the culture of different relationship, it works very, very differently. So yeah, I will share later on about my relationship and so forth in a general way. Okay, so moving on to the second perspective. Okay, the second perspective that we will go through is looking at culture and communication through the interpretive perspective. Oh, before I move on, any questions for the social perspective? Are we clear? Are we clear? All right, cool. So moving on to the second perspective is interpretive perspective. How communication, how would the meaning of what you say to each other in your culture. So for example, like we covered in all these gestures, gestures, postures, eye contact, facial expression, right, shared meaning. So even though you stare to a person with dead eyes, it also gives meaning. So in communicating with different cultures, as I mentioned before in our previous class, in our previous tutorials, different gestures means a great deal towards different cultures. So to be really, really careful in using non-verbal gestures towards one another. Okay, so that is for the second perspective. And the third one, okay, the a continuation from the slide is, for example, yeah, to make things more complicated, each message has more than one meaning. Okay, I will give you an example like this. If you say to a friend, right, for example, throughout time, you say, I love you because you're such a, I love you, and you say that, being a woman and you say that to a guy, yeah, and being a woman, when you have friendships with guys, you say, I love you, and you're in your mindset, you are only friends with them. But being a guy and maybe he has a crush on you, when you say I love you, he will have all this flowery feelings and say, oh, it's a good thing, and things like that. So be careful in the, in interpreting a person's message, and you have to be really observant in terms of what kind of meaning that the person, gives out the message to you. Yeah. So I love you can mean a lot of things. I like to have a good time with you tonight. I feel guilty about what I did last night without you. I need you to do me a favor. For example, if if you say I love you when in the context of I need you to do me a favor, it's, for example, I love you, can you do me a favor? So or you say, the way you say the sentence makes such a difference to different people. So be careful as well. So when we communicate, we assume that the other person takes the meaning that we intend. So remember, different people come from different backgrounds, and the way they were brought up very, very differently. Some people, they are more direct. Some people, when you say I love you, they take it really seriously because throughout their background, saying I love you is a big deal. So it's a huge breakthrough. So make sure to be really careful and observant as well. So more likely, when individuals come from different cultural backgrounds and experiences, that assumption may be faulty. So like I mentioned to you, when I say, oh, I'm beautiful, when I say to all 106 of you that I'm beautiful, you have different meanings towards the message as well. So please be careful in what kind of message that you want to throw at someone. Okay, and how you say it is really, it plays a really great role. Okay, with that, okay, we go to the third perspective in culture, and we're talking about culture and communication as well. Talking and moving on to the third perspective is the critical perspective. Okay, when you communicate in a culture, in every type of culture, remember, when we talk about culture, it's not just in a racial context. It can be in a religion context. It can be how you communicate in a culture, in your university, how you communicate in a culture, in your family, because different family have different practices of culture, and then culture can be in your workplace, where you study, among your friends, and so forth. Culture is, it varies across boundaries. Okay, so let's look on to the third perspective. Okay, so the critical perspective emphasizes the importance of societal forces in the communication process. Voices and symbols are not equal, but communication are arranged in social hierarchy. Okay, where some individual, okay, let me bring that down. Okay, where some individual characteristics are more highly valued than others. So when you communicate positions, throughout time, you could not avoid this in a culture perspective and intercultural perspective, is that position plays an important role when you communicate message. So for example, here, people are more likely to listen carefully to a police officer than to a young child. Authority plays an important role in sharing a message as well. So for example, right, if you want to check the deadline for assignments, right, and you ask your friends, and you're not that sure, and your friend will give out the deadlines to you, and you say, oh, maybe it's not correct, maybe I should ask Hannes, I should ask my lecturer to confirm things. So that's how it goes, because sometimes you have to people with authority, could give you and could confirm you that kind of information. Yeah, so powerful social symbols, okay, plays an important role in communication. People with position, flags, national anthems, even Disney logos. When you look at Disney logos, I don't know, do you guys watch Disney channels? Societal forces will be society attraction. So, for example, whatever happens in the society is a part of the communication process as well. So, for example, people from all age group have an important role in uh, giving a successful communication process. Ryan. Okay, so anybody watch Disney before? Disney movies? Yes, no, yes, not a fan. Yup, I'm too grown up for Disney Channel. Okay, so Disney. So when we watch Disney logos, right? Well, what would be the first thing that comes through our mind? It would be something that we have a sense of belonging. We feel calm. It's something that relates to our childhood, magical. Yeah. So logos bring meaning as well. Or for example, as basic as the logo of McDonald's. When you go and see McDonald's drive-through, right? Or look at the advertisement of spicy chicken McDeluxe with lemon sauce, so you will definitely in your mind, it registers you that you will be hungry. So logos like this would be in terms of critical perspective, whereby social symbols are very, very important. So for example, if you see a flag and in social media, if a person starts on your national flag, you will be really, really mad. So social symbols plays an important role in communicating. If an individual in social media starts on your religious book, you will be mad as well. So social symbols plays an important part in communicating a message that I belong to this culture, I belong to this country, and this is important to me. So that would be a part of communication, and culture plays an interrelated role throughout time. Okay, so another example right here would be for example, when school children in the United States bring guns to school and kill schoolmates, and the symbolism of these acts communicate something, and the acts themselves are material. So for example, in the United States itself, it's such a normal thing where if if you go to a public school and that particular neighborhood has high amount of crime rates, to bring a gun is normal because you would like to protect yourself. So but if you go to Asian countries, it's not normal. So different symbols plays different meaning towards a certain culture in different countries as well. Okay, are we clear on these three perspectives, people, before we move on? Any questions? Any questions before we move on, people? No, okay. And continuing on to relationship between culture and communication. As I mentioned before, culture influences communication. How you do things in your culture would influence the way you communicate to other people from different cultures as well. So communication influences culture, and culture influences communication as well. It goes vice versa. Okay, so that you could not avoid. And how culture influences communication, and let's talk about in terms of intercultural communication wise. Okay, so intercultural communication scholars use broad frameworks from anthropology and psychology to identify and study cultural differences in communication. Okay, so there will always be differences in culture, and how do we identify that? It's through two scholars. Okay, two scholars came when we talk about framework. What is framework? People, can anybody answer me? What is framework? What is framework, people? Can anybody answer me? What is framework? Anybody has an idea? We covered that in chapter 2, week 2, a border. No? A structure, okay. A structure, something like artwork, no, okay. Okay, a framework is like a structure or an idea, okay, or the way things work. So what happened is that there are two scholars, okay, Clark Horn and Strodeback, that will be one group of scholars, and Hofstede in 1984 come up with this system, okay, the way they think that how how to identify cultural differences. Okay, so when we talk about cultural differences, we talk about let's define the concept of cultural values. Okay, so cultural values are the worldview of a cultural group and its set of deeply held beliefs. So that we covered from time to time. Values, beliefs, you can't run away from that concept into cultural communication. Okay, so before we move on to the frameworks by Clark Horn and Hofstede, okay, I want to share with you, this would be a holiday of Kwanzaa. It's an important holiday for many African Americans. It was established in 1966 by Ron Karenga and lasts 7 days to mark 7 important cultural values in the African American society: unity, self-determination, collective work and responsibility, cooperative economics, purpose, creativity, and faith. So it's like a part of Hanukkah, Hanukkah celebration, but just like the candle, a little bit like Hanukkah, but they just a day of remembrance that we should unite, we should we stay together in a community and so forth. So that is what Kwanzaa is. Okay, so anybody come across this holiday before? No? Yes? No? Have you guys come across the holiday of Kwanzaa? Yeah, heard of it? Okay, so different some African Americans practice it. A majority of them practice it. Some don't. Okay, it depends on the individual and the family themselves as well. Okay. Continuing on to the next slide. So let me throw back a question to you. What holidays does your family celebrate, and what cultural values are being transmitted in those celebrations? Can we have a quick reply? Everybody, just Ramadan, what kind of cultural values that are being transmitted in your celebration? Kaamatan, CNY, Christmas. Yeah? Okay, give me a second, people. I'll be back. Eid, bring Sorry guys. Call from the boss. Oh my God, why am I being interrupted? Okay, sorry. So coming back to the question. Okay, what holidays does your family celebrate and what cultural values are being transmitted in those celebrations? So might it be from Chinese New Year to Deepavali to Christmas? There is the voice. Yes, hi people. Sorry to keep you waiting. My boss called just now. Okay, so when we talk about holiday celebration, I think the most important cultural value that all the celebration that practices is to bring togetherness, right? We need to be together from time to time, and we treasure the time that we have, in seeing each other, because during holiday celebration, that is the only time you can see your extended family members and your cousins and your uncles and your aunties, and that will be the question where when is your study going to finish, what's the GPA that you gotten, are you going to get married, who is your girlfriend, who is your boyfriend, where are you studying, is your college good or not, who are your lecturers, are you getting like so many A's during the semester and things like that. So it's a culture. Yeah, so cultural values in celebration brings togetherness. Do you guys agree with me? All that questions, it only comes during holiday celebration. And I would say just to bear with it and move on. Don't get like so hung up on it and say, oh my god, I have to answer these questions and so forth. Yeah. Any family gathering, you will have all these questions. Okay, moving on to the first concept, which is Clark Hahn and stroke back value orientation. So the first one would be Florence Clark Hahn. This set of researchers, right, studied descendant of Spanish colonies in 1950. So what happened is that these Clark Hahn and stroke back are individuals. So what they studied they studied that values are the most deeply felt beliefs shared by a cultural group. They reflect a shared perception of what ought to be and not what is. Okay, equality, for example, is a value shared by many people in the United States. So Clark Hahn and Strokeback, emphasize that the centrality of cultural values is how you understand a cultural group. Okay, so that is what Clark Hahn and Strokeback going for in their idea of cultural values, how people work, how do we differentiate cultural groups. Okay, so for the first one, let's say in the United States, we talk about equality, equality, whereby it refers to the belief that all humans are created equal. Women and men should be equal, they have equal rights and things like that, but in reality they are so different, come from different race, so much talent, and they have access to, they have difference in access to material goods as well. So in Clark Hahn and Strokeback value orientations, we have one, two, three, four, five in how we look at, in how Clark Hahn and Strokeback look at how society works. It's first through human nature, second is through relationship between humans and nature, third one will be relationship between humans, the fourth is preferred personality, and the last one is time orientation. So let's look at one by one. When we talk about first one, human nature. Okay, so in the first orientation is a belief in the fundamental goodness of human nature. So when we talk about, if you're good and if you do bad, you should be given an opportunity. So in the first orientation, it's a belief in the fundamental goodness of human nature, whereby it emphasized rehabilitating violators of the law. So let's say in this particular society or countries who practice this human nature, so for example, if you do good, or if you do good, okay, that's fine, you will have good things in your life. But if you are a drug addict, or you have violated rules and regulation, and if you have done your time, okay, you need to be given, you need to give an opportunity to this individual to come back to the society and to contribute something. And countries that practice this would be United States and Japan, according to the textbook. Do you guys agree with this? People from Japan, do you guys agree with this? My beautiful people from Japan, is this true? They are being given an opportunity to come back and serve the community. So that would be the first orientation that we are looking at from Clark Hahn and Strodeback value orientations. Okay, so Andrea, pretty sure that the US has the worst prison. They treat prisoners like animals. I would say all prisons treat prisoners like animals, but that is I don't know, a practice that we have in prisons. But when they come out, they should be given an opportunity to do good back to the society. Yeah. Second orientation. Okay, let's move on to the second orientation, a perception of combination of goodness and evil in human nature. Okay, consider the increase in three strikes legislation and the lack of interest in rehabilitation and reform. So in the second orientation, okay, if you are given three opportunities in certain communities and in different parts of the world, I could not list that out because some communities practice this, some communities don't practice this. If you do it 3 times, we will give you a warning. If you have done wrong the first time, second time, and third time, then you're out. Okay, and the third orientation is human nature is essentially lived. Okay, so for the third orientation, will be less interested in rehabilitation of criminals than in punishment. Okay, so this will be practiced more in the Arab countries, and whereby in Islam, it's the hudud law, whereby if you steal, we will cut off your hands so that you won't steal anymore. So you won't do it again. If you sleep together and you don't have wedded relationship, you will be stoned to death, for example. So in the third orientation, more to Arab countries and especially Brunei, if I'm not mistaken, practices this kind of values. Yeah? Questions before we move on, people? Questions? Are we good? Are we good? Moving on?
Yeah, we are good. Yeah.
All right, thank you. And we move on to the second value on Clark Hahn, which is relationship between human and nature. Okay, the first orientation would be human dominates nature. For example, the country that practices this would be Canada is very concerned about protecting their environment. This is very clear. Okay, this is very clear. Even if you are just traveling, they're concerned about clean water, clean air, and not doing too much logging. Okay, human dominates nature, whereby, especially in Canada, they really take care of their nature. They make sure that the individuals there practice good values of taking care of their nature. The second orientation will be domination nature over humans. Okay, so for example, number of children that they are born naturally. Some different communities throughout the world, don't have a limitation of how many number of children, you know, should be born in a particular country. Sometimes there are particular countries who practice that you can only have, you know, 2 children at a certain point of time, because if we have too many population, it's not good. So and many Arab groups, yeah, emphasize both harmony and domination of nature as well. Okay, continuing on, the the third one is relationship between humans. Okay, some cultural groups value individualism and others are more group oriented. Yeah, so different countries, you can see in a difference of how they work. Some are more individualistic and some more we go in groups. Yeah, so values may also be related to economic status and rural urban distinction. Okay, working class to be more collective, okay, whereby they donate their time and money to help others. So for example, working class, if you see people and you know, blind people and going around, for example in KL, right? So if you're a working adult, and to give 1 ringgit is nothing, because you know, you want to donate the time and you say, oh, we have to help them because, you know, such a pretty thing to be in that kind of position and things like that. Yeah, so it depends on where you come from in which country as well, but mainly I think we practice a little bit of the same values, and cultural values may influence patterns of communication as well. Yeah, individualism favor a direct form of communication. When you come from a country which is very direct, which is very individualistic, you know, you want, if you don't like a person, you tell them to the face. But if you come from much more of an, I think, according to my perception, is that if you come from Asian countries, which we are more collectivist, right? We try to avoid confrontation. So whereby, you know, to solve an issue, we will go through many different layers and try a third party and things like that. Okay, and with the fourth one is preferred forms of activity. Okay, when we talk about what kind of countries, when we talk how to differentiate cultural values, is that what kind of activity that they are doing. Yeah, so in the United States, they value productivity, and in other parts of the country as well, it's a combination of that. And in other parts of the country, they focus on and culture on spiritual aspects of life. Especially in, if I'm not mistaken, in Malay, in a Malay community, if you're a little bit too religious, we have the group called Arkam, yeah, Arkam, whereby if you practice Arkam, I mean, you have a community itself, you value spiritual aspects of life in a greater heights and things like that. Yeah, so that is for number 4. And the 5th one is orientation to time, how you differentiate cultural values and how you differentiate from one culture to another is by orientation to time. Yeah, some communities and some cultures deposit money in retirement accounts. You know, for example, if I'm not mistaken, you can correct me on this, I think the Chinese community is so good in keeping money, whereas according to my observation and my experience in my family, you know, we as Malays, especially my family, we you know, we don't actually, you know, think about the future. We spend at this point of time and we don't save. Yeah, so that is for number 1, an example for number 1. Number 2 is the importance of the present, recognition of value living fully and reality potential of the present moment. So sometimes when we talk about orientation to time, yeah, it's about how a culture values time, time itself. Okay, so depositing money for future purposes, to be present in the present day, and to also to reflect back on the history, where you come from and things like that is important to different parts of the people. Sometimes throughout evolution, throughout change, throughout years, you don't think that history is important. You say now is now, and I don't care about what happened back then. I am who I am today. You know, sometimes we have people like that as well. So different cultures practice different things. Okay, questions on that, people? 15 more minutes and I am going to continue on with my lecture. Questions? All good. Okay, moving on to the second concept that I want to share with you guys today, which is Hofstede value orientation. Okay, so this is a particular scholar, okay, who took the Clark Hahn. Just now we discussed all these 5 elements, right? So this Hofstede guy took what Clark Hahn did and extended his own ideas. Okay, so and Hofstede and colleagues examine value differences among national societies. So Clark Hahn is much more in cultural groups, in cultural groups, but Hofstede took it into a different level, looking at in a national perspective and identify 5 areas of common problems in terms of value. Yeah, let's go through this together. So the 5 values that Hofstede think that, you know, that makes what, that makes a culture different from another would be first, power distance. Okay, in power distance is a cultural variability dimension that concerns the extent to which people accept an unequal distribution of power. So the first one will be lower power distance. You know, when we talk about low power distance, you don't go by hierarchy. You can actually talk to anybody. You don't have positions right there. If you are working in Denmark, Israel, and New Zealand, everybody is equal. If you go to the CEO and you can just talk, you know, your issues like that. But high power distance, you know, much more, hierarchy is being practiced in a particular culture, and countries that practice that, according to the textbook, is Mexico and India. And the second value orientation, what makes different from one culture and different to another in terms of countries, is femininity and masculinity. Okay, so in femininity, fewer gender-specific roles, value quality of life, support for unfortunate. Countries who practice that will be Denmark, Norway, and Sweden. And masculinity will be more gender-specific roles, achievement, ambition, and how you get your materials done and things like that. Countries that practice that is Japan, Austria, and Mexico. And when we talk about uncertainty, the third one is uncertainty avoidance would be a cultural element that concerns that extent to which uncertainty, ambiguity, and deviant ideas and behaviors are avoided. So when we talk about uncertainty avoidance, there are 2 types. The first one is low uncertainty avoidance, community who dislike rules and accept decent and less formality would be people, nationalities who practice that comes from Hong Kong, Sweden, and Britain. And high uncertainty avoidance, they would like to, be more on rules and regulation, because with rules and regulation you have certainty, you make sure that things work. So that will be countries who practice that would be Greece, Portugal, and Japan. And last but not least would be long-term and short-term orientation, is that can be divided by 2, whereby it's a culture, the 4th cultural element, whereby in certain religion, for example, if you're from Western religions like Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, they practice quick results. They have universal guidelines for good and evil, and long-term orientation, definition of good and evil depends on circumstances. So and religions who practice that in a culture of Confucianism, Hinduism, and Buddhism as well. So this would be the elements of how Hofstede thinks that, you know, a culture works according to their nationalities. Okay. Is Malaysia high uncertainty avoidance? I would say it's a combination of both. Sometimes you could not, you know, categorize a country only into one, you know, type of element as well. I would say, you know, it's according to what kind of situation that you are in, especially in Malaysia. Yeah. So if you work in a government institution, it's more formality. But if you work in a corporate environment, it's more relaxed. So I would say, I'll give you an example. So if I am a lecturer in a public university, I will have to follow this set of rules, you know, that I need to wear our national clothing, which is baju kurung every day. I could not wear skirts and things like that. But, you know, working at tailors, I can be more relaxed, can wear blouse and jeans, and people will say, oh, even though she's a lecturer, she can wear jeans. Yeah, it's more relaxed. Nothing will be questioned right there. Yeah, so it depends, Zuhair. Okay, any questions for this second concept, people? Are we good? Okay, quite a shout out to Gabriel. Report will be maximum 5 pages. Okay, any questions before we move on? Are we good? Or did I explain too fast? Okay, so continuing on the relationship between communication and context, yeah. So for example, communication can occur anywhere, people, okay? And the setting of communication is really important. You should look at in what kind of situation that you are in, what kind of environment and things like that before you communicate. So it is interrelated, yeah. And moving on to the next slide is relationship between communication and power. Yeah, power is pervasive in communication interaction, although it is not always evident, but it is there. So when we talk about communication and power in culture, even though people say, oh, you come and talk to me, even though I'm the CEO and you're my executive, oh, you can talk to me about anything. But there will always be a gap. You could not talk to your CEO about your personal issues like that, because that will reflect you as, you know, an inefficient employee. So it will always be there, you know, communication, power, and culture. And there are 2 levels of group-related power. Okay, the first one is primary dimension. The second one is secondary dimension. So through age, ethnicity, gender, physical ability, race, and sexual orientation, which are more permanent in nature, make sure that, you know, that will be the first thing that people look at when you say about, you know, power. You know, for example, if I tell you that I'm the same age as you and I'm giving you a lecture, so you'll be like, are you sure? So you don't trust me. So that's how power works, yeah? And the second dimension would be educational background, geographic location, marital status, and socio-economic status. So let's say I tell you I'm the same age as you and I'm your lecturer, you'll be like, oh, really? So, but looking at my educational background, it will affirm your belief that, oh, she can teach me, she can guide me in intercultural communication because she has, you know, an extensive educational background. Yeah. So that would be an example of group-related power. Yeah. And just a summary of the lecture. So there are 4 building blocks to understand intercultural communication: culture, communication, context, and power. So culture can be viewed as learned pattern of groups, and communication can be viewed as unique to the speaker, its symbol, and also power. And the relationship between culture and communication is complex. So the context also influences communication. So when we talk about so many, you know, repetitive terms, but it works hand in hand with each other. So Communication, culture, power, it goes hand in hand. But you have to be really observant throughout time. Maybe you say, I could not, interpret it accordingly, I couldn't see the meaning behind this situation. For example, you tell me that, but throughout time, when you see a lot of people, when you are exposed to so many different things, you can have a critical, and make a meaning throughout this situation and react accordingly. Okay? Questions, people, for this particular lecture? Questions? Are we good? Any questions? Any questions? Are we good? Are we good? Let me ask questions. Nisa, how about Ryan, Batu, Brenda, Yishuang, Jachi, Shuan? All good? Can you use this in your report? Yeah, sure. Andrea, you can use this in your report. Okay, no questions. Okay, with that, I think I have like a small discussion to do at the end of our lecture, but I think I will forward that in our tutorial session, okay? So that you guys, have less work to do for today. There's a 5-page intro and conclusion. Yes, that's right, Amina. Okay, any other questions? I will do the tutorial session. So for tutorial group 1, please, I will post up a discussion on times, and please do that. For tutorial group 2, we will come back on Thursday and do our tutorial sessions live together. So tomorrow is a public holiday, so it's a rest for all of you, especially tutorial group 1 tomorrow. Yeah, for my subject. Any questions before we wrap things up, before I give you the canceling and things like that? Any questions? Any questions? No, preferably to group with the same tutorial group, Zing. All good. Okay, hopefully that you can follow. Okay, you can follow my teachings. Hopefully I'm clear so far. I'm really looking forward to meeting each and one of you for those who opt for face-to-face classes. I will post the tutorial work. At 10 a.m. tomorrow. Okay, hoping that you guys can follow me. My lectures up to week 4. So week 5 we will have another lecture. So for week 6 we will have quiz. So make sure that throughout time, you don't have to really memorize everything, for intercultural communication, but remember the concepts is important, and to understand it is really, really important. Okay, questions before we head on to attendance. Questions. Quiz will be week 6, covering from topic week 1 to week 5. See you. Okay, questions. Are there any particular slides we should study? Study all slides from week 1 to week 5.
Excuse me, ma'am. Can I know when we will be available to face-to-face lecture? Face-to-face lecture.
Okay, sure. Who asked me the question? Sorry.
Noman. My name is Noman.
Roman. Okay, Roman. We will meet each other next week. Okay, back on campus.
Next week there will be a face-to-face lecture.
Lecture, everything will be online. Okay. So
okay.
Lecture every Tuesday will be online. Just that for tutorial sessions, it will be face-to-face. Yeah.
I just ask when we will be available to available for face-to-face lectures.
Or
I
face-to-face
asked,
lectures.
yeah.
Face-to-face lectures, unfortunately, Roman, there wouldn't be face-to-face lectures because then the social distancing wouldn't work because I have around 100 over students. So that's
Oh
why
yeah.
the social distancing must work. So lectures will be kept online too. So
Oh,
tutorials, those who opt for face-to-face can come on campus accordingly to the week that I tell you to come back on campus. Okay? So certain weeks
okay.
there will be face-to-face class, face-to-face session, tutorial session, and some weeks it will be full online. Okay?
Okay, okay. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. For the report, does it have a word limit? Minimum 3 pages, maximum 5, no word limit. Yep. Okay, let's head on to camps. Okay, if you have no questions, let's head on to camps. And this would be the ID for today, for JD HUD. Okay, I'm waiting for everybody to come and log into camps.
What what are you saying? We have to face
No.
online?
Roman, are you new to the class?
Yes, yes, I'm new to the class.
Can you draw me a message at my WhatsApp, Roman 017-3701-443. Introduce yourself and I'll go through the subject with you. Have you watched the
One minute. Can you repeat? Can you repeat?
can you see in the chat box my number?
Oh, okay, I will see. I can see.
Okay. So what you do is, Roman, for now, is to watch the previous recordings on times and catch up, okay?
Okay, okay, I will.
Then if you have any questions, you drop me a text and
Yeah.
I'll be glad to answer.
Okay. And what about the attendance for today?
Do you know camps.taylors.edu.my?
Website? That website?
Yeah, this is a classroom attendance marking system.
Yeah, I know that.
So you see my screen right now?
Yes, I can see your screen.
Okay, so just type the code and you can log in and log in and you can mark your attendance as attending the class.
Oh, okay. Wait, just
Okay, Mercy, don't worry, Mercy, at my end, you attended all classes, just that I'm still having problem with my CMS, so don't worry about it, okay? In the report, in the video report, you have to summarize it correct. Christy, you need to reach 3 pages. Group 2 have tutorial face-to-face. When group 1 have face-to-face tutorial, what do you mean, Ming? Give me a second, Ryan. Okay, do we need a cover page for the report? Okay, for the report, I try to get a cover page for you guys. In case I can't get a cover page from my program director, then you can leave that out. So I will let you know very soon. Okay, so for this week, tutorial group 1 don't have tutorial session, but because tomorrow is a public holiday in Malaysia, but I will post something on times. Yeah, but for tutorial group 2 this week, the tutorial session will be online. Okay, so for next week, for those who opt for face-to-face session, you will come back to campus. and you can see me in class. Okay? Okay, it's 106. I think I got everybody on track in the attendance. 107 apparently. Okay, 107. And with that, it is a wrap for today. For today's lecture week 4. Thank you very much for coming in my lecture, and I'll be seeing you guys on times and in our tutorial session on Thursday. Thank you very much. Please take care of yourself and be good and take care and do the self-culture report and everything that I've said. Please take note. Okay, thank you very much. Please be safe and be good. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much for coming in. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you. You may leave the meeting room now.